using a texture mat, like I want to use this fish scale one, you're going to just place the texture mat. You've rolled your slab at about 1/4 inch, and you're just going to place the texture mat over your slab using a rolling pin. You're just going to apply an even pressure and roll across. Ta-da! Now you have your texture. Okay, so that's one way in which you can do it, and then you would use this for your build. Because it's the soft slab, I could then cut it to shape. Remind me what shape I'm doing? Like a rainbow. I've got to cut it to an arc, and then I can then place it around my mold, right? And I would build from there. What do I need to be concerned about though, right? If I have a joint and I'm trying to blend the joint, what's going to happen to the texture right here? Yeah, so think about that. With your design element, you might put something over that. You might put the handle at that spot to hide it. You're going to want to consider that, but you will be blending out some textures. That's just kind of the nature of it. You could, if you really want to, go back in and just carve the fish scales in that spot, but it's up to you how you approach it. You do want to consider how to make it look good. All right, the other way that I want to show you, again, this is all before I've actually built the mug. I just see a little air pocket, so I'm just going to poke that guy. So the other technique I want to show you, again, before you've actually built the mug, so if you notice, I've kind of cut it along the shape of the rainbow. I'm going to cut each side. And then it's simply a case of just taking my stamps of choice and just stamping into the slab. But what are you noticing about the slab as I'm stamping? Yeah, it's spreading out. So the reason why I wanted to highlight that if you cut your shape first, you're going to have to still trim it down because it alters the shape slightly. I also want you to be careful because if you stamp too hard, then you have a risk of going all the way through your slab, right? So you want to stamp hard enough in which you can see the textures. But you don't want to stamp too hard to where you go all the way through. All right. So now that I've added my impressed textures, I can go back through my notes, right? I'd wrap this in newspaper. I'd roll this around. I'd trim it to the size that I need, and so on. Now, what do you think you're going to do for your additive textures? Do you add them at this stage, do you think, or would you add them once your mug is built? Exactly. What you've got to be careful of is if you try and stamp when the mug, let me show you on this guy, if you try to stamp while your mug is built, you have a risk of it caving in, even if you support the outside. You really want the flat surface of the table to help support you. I also recommend making sure that if you do stamp any letters in, that you really try to do that before you wrap it around your mug. So if I want to have my name on there, I've got to think ahead and realize that if I want it to be kind of on the side away from the seam, then I'd need it to be somewhat central in my slab.